Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Stone. I live every mile From the Smith Radio studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Well, for those of you who have been with us for a while, you know that that's an old clip. So sorry, folks. It's the first time I'm doing this, just kind of live on the fly, doing a Periscope style, if you will, Periscope style show tonight. It's just me in the studio all by my lonesome. So for those of you on the scope right now, I am also, because Periscope wouldn't let me see it, I'm also on the scope as well. So I'll be checking in with your comments. All right, well, let's get that up and running. Okay. This is New Right Network Tonight. My name is Brian Smith. Follow me at Brian P. Smith on Twitter, and my cousin and co-host at SmythRadio. We go live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And today was one of those days where I just kind of started thinking, you know what, maybe I'll do something a little bit different because my co-host is not in studio with me. So I'll do something a little bit different. And for those of you that have been with the show for a while, you know that sound, that song with the clip at the end, used to be Smith Radio. And if you're listening to this audio only, again, this is a Periscope, live Periscope, so it might be a little bit different listening to it live only. But we used to be Smith Radio for years and years, and then we went to video. Because of our Patreons, thank you very, very much. Because of our Patreons, we've been able to go to video. So we've changed up a little bit, and Smith.TV, that's who we are, because we've got TV as well as the video, and we've partnered up with New Right Network Tonight. So if you're not following at New Right Network Tonight, you absolutely should. Let me adjust the audio there just a little bit. There we go. You absolutely should. That's where all the MAGA voices are. Great minds, great writers, and then also, again, some great shows. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, Periscope. There's no reason why you can't find us anywhere all around the horn. Thank you for crushing the hearts. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Crush the share, crush the follow. And today, the story you never heard. That's what today is. Folks, when I woke up this morning, I woke up and John Solomon's name was trending number one in America. John Solomon, if you don't know him, is a writer at Hill.com and also Hill.tv. And last night, Wednesday night, he did an interview, special interview with the top prosecutor in the Ukraine. His first name's Yuri. I can't pronounce his last name. First name Yuri. So he did an interview with Yuri last night. He's a Ukrainian, a top-notch guy in the Ukraine. And here's the deal. Back in 2015, 2016, right around that era, the Ukraine was going through what they consider a corruption revolution. They ousted the president. He went into exile. And then Yuri and others wanted to take their country back from all the corruption that was coming in through Russia with Putin, and then the crooked politicians that were working with Putin to literally make the Ukraine an extension of Putin. You just keep your name, but the people that run the country are puppeteers of mine, and I just pull the strings. That's exactly what Putin was doing. And the Ukraine was falling. So they had this Ukrainian revolution, and they started to clean house. Well, what they found was absolutely disturbing. They've been reporting on this for years, and now John Solomon has now brought this to light. And what's going to blow your mind is not all the dirty deeds done dirt cheap, because you know all the dirt. We know the Russia. We know, and speaking about that, folks, for those of you who've been asking me, I'm sorry, and I did it though. If you go down to the show notes, in the bottom of the show notes, Russia, December 11th, 2016, our audio-only show. I've got the link in the description below. It takes you over to Spreaker.com, and it'll take you right to our Russia show. Carrie and I are very proud of that show. It's a culmination of a lot of things that we've been doing, a lot of things that have come into play from he and I talking politics back and forth for 15, 16 years, growing up and living through the Cold War. So you get our perspective on all of that, as well as the political perspective of how we came at this election cycle with Trump, knowing what the Democrats were doing. And when Rush Limbaugh says, I know what they're going to do before they do it, I couldn't agree with him more. I know what they're going to do before they're going to do it. So, folks, this is a spy novel of epic proportions. And if you guys thinking to yourself, Brian, why are you talking about this? Why are you doing? Why are you over the again and again and again? Folks, I love spy novels. I'm a James Bond 007 junkie. I can watch every single one of them. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I can watch every single one of James Bond's movies, Tom Cruise's movies. I love all the Cold War spy stuff. I was raised in that era, and I just absolutely love it. And I'm riveted to this Russian collusion story because it has unfolded to become a bestseller, a novel, if you will, especially when the author at the very first page says based on true events, true stories. It's just beyond mind-blowing. So a little while back, we started to find out that Ukrainian politicians, the Preska, involved in Russia, had he's an oligarch, big ties with the former president of the Ukraine, who was puppeteers for Russia. So this guy, DePreska, real high up, lots of money, and he was working with Paul Manafort for a long time. Matter of fact, the McCain FBI, the Bush FBI told McCain that stay back away from Paul Manafort. He's got ties to Russia, to Preska, and actually going into Donald Trump's campaign, apparently Paul Manafort, which he denies it, but apparently there's on the books that Paul Manafort owes this Ukrainian oligarch up to $16 million, if you will. So there's a little bit of issue to vulnerability and whatnot when it comes to Manafort. Now, you could ask all day long, why did Donald Trump and his campaign not vet Manafort out? Why did they not just say, hey, what's going on? Let's look through his background. Let's figure out what's going on. I don't know. I don't have those answers. However, The Atlantic wrote an article about it years ago, and in The Atlantic, it said that Roger Stone approached Donald Trump and said, here, Paul Manafort will work for you. Here's his credentials, and he'll actually work for you for free. Take that for what you will. Paul Manafort comes on to Trump's team in March. April, May, June, 3 months later, becomes the head chair for Trump and his campaign, and then fired in August. So for those of you out there, for the liberals out there, all day today, I've seen him tweeting out all day today, comments all day today, John Solomon, who's that? Or Paul Manafort, I told you he was dirty. This is why he's going to prison. This is why Trump's dirty. No, folks. The news that came out and the reason why Donald Trump fired Paul Manafort is because of the interview last night. And here's how it went down. We knew that information, that dirt on Paul Manafort was leaked out to the press. We didn't know where it came from. We didn't know how it came about. But apparently, according to Ukraine's top prosecutor, and this is from the John Solomon's piece at thehill.tv, and I'll just read this real quick. Ukraine's top prosecutor divulged in an interview aired Wednesday on thehill.tv that he has opened an investigation into whether his country's law enforcement apparatus intentionally leaked financial records during the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign about then Donald Trump camp chairman Paul Manafort in an effort to sway the election in favor of Hillary Clinton. The top law enforcement guy, SIdnik, he was caught on audio tape. And apparently they had the audio tape, and the courts have already ruled that what they've seen and what has happened, what has transpired in the Ukraine is beyond criminal. So the audio tape that came out has this top investigator saying that we are going to release the Black Ledger files on Paul Manafort in order to help Hillary Clinton. Now, for the longest time, I have felt that Paul Manafort was a plant. It's almost too good to be coincidental. It truly is almost too good to be coincidental, because some of the reportings that I've seen, even going all the way back as far as the New York Times, there's an article written back in 2015, 2016, about how the FBI had been looking into Paul Manafort for years and was never able to come up with the Black Ledger files, and weren't able to come up with the dirt they needed to arrest Paul Manafort or put him away. Whatever the case may be, the FBI knew about this guy already. If it's true, the Atlantic's the only one that I know. If it's true that Roger Stone was the one that told Trump, hey, you got to have Paul Manafort. He's a good guy. That almost can't be happenstance. It just can't possibly be, because this was too perfect. Although you can look at this and say that the Democrats were looking for anybody and anything tied with Russia. Anybody from Carter Page to George Papadopoulos, our good buddy General Flynn, all of it. They were looking for anybody and everybody tied to Russia. If it was coincidental, it is unbelievable how coincidental it was that Paul Manafort had so many dirty ties with the Ukraine, with Russia, and this narrative played into the hands of the Democrat Party. Now, what is the significance of all of this? John Solomon tweeted out, "A Russian collusion fades. Secret Ukrainian plot to help Clinton win 2016 election surfaces. Probe into improper foreign intrusion begins in Kiev." He also retweeted out again, "Did Ukraine try to secretly help Hillary Clinton and win the 2016 election? Chief prosecutor says there's enough evidence to start an official investigation." Now, we roll back to 2014, 2015, and all of a sudden we see the FBI setting up shop in the embassy in Kiev, working with the dirty Ukrainian officials, looking for dirt on Manafort. And guess who else is there? You're not going to believe. Guess who else is hanging out? Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele's hanging out in Kiev. And Christopher Steele is talking to Bruce Orr, and he's telling Bruce Orr, hey, I'm looking for the dirty ledger, the Black Ledger. I'm looking for the Black Ledger. We're close to finding it. Don't you worry. When we get this dirt on Paul Manafort, I promise you it's going to be big and it's going to bring him down. Christopher Steele hated Donald Trump for whatever reasons. Maybe the fact that Donald Trump's not a globalist. Maybe the fact that he's jealous. Whatever the case may be, there was a huge bias with Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele hired by Fusion GPS Glenn Simpson, who was paid for by Perkins Coie, the lawyer Sussman, who was paid by Hillary Clinton campaign. All of this money running right through to Christopher Steele. And now we're finding out that all of them were meeting up in Kiev, in the Ukraine, to find all the dirt that they could possibly find, or create whatever dirt they could possibly create. Because as we know, months ago, even further back, that Ukrainian politicians were involved in the creation of the Christopher Steele PP Russian dossier gate. And Christopher Steele's there. The Ukrainian politicians are there. The Democrats are there. The FBI is there. Everybody's there, folks. And Obama knows all about this. There's so much dirt on his hands. It's unbelievable. The Ukrainian prosecutor, General Yuri, he's pretty much the same as like an Attorney General Barr here in America. Yuri is just referred to him as the Attorney General for the Ukraine. And he has made it a lifelong goal to clean up Ukrainian corruption in politics, in the government. That's his lifelong goal, is to clean up corruption. Again, he was there for the revolution from 15 to 16 to oust all these dirty politicians and start to clean up the environment. And he said one of his concerns is that the Ukrainian law enforcement agency involved had frequent contact with the Obama administration and the U.S. Embassy in Kiev at the time. So he wouldn't say he had concern about that if he didn't seriously have some kind of evidence to back that up. And again, folks, we know Christopher Steele was there. FBI has moved in there. You cannot tell me that they just went there and not to have any kind of collusion with the Ukraine. They're looking for dirt on Trump. They're looking for Russian collusion on Trump. And before I get too further, I'm going to tease you with this. Guys, if you see the title of the scope, the title of the scope. You see the title of the scope, Thursday Thoughts on what at J. Solomon reports didn't say hashtag collusion. And if you look at the picture, the little thumbnail, the icon, if you will, if you look at the icon of the Russian, Ukraine, Clinton, Biden, Obama, sedition. Folks, it doesn't get any worse than this. And if Mark Taylor's prophecies come true, where they say that people are going to pay for this, we are closer now than we've ever been before to showing that people need to pay for this. And like I said, I'm going to tease this right now. You'll be shocked at how this story ends. And for those of you at New Right Network tonight in the writers' meeting this morning, you guys got insight on how this ends tonight. And you'll be shocked. You'll be floored. And for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you probably got a little taste of what's going to happen. But let's just wrap this up. And I'm going to lay this out. And this brings down everybody in the administration. It brings them all down. People that you didn't think were involved are connected in a back way. And real quick, John Solomon writes, we now have strong evidence that retired British spy Christopher Steele began his quest and what ultimately became the infamous Russian collusion dossier with a series of conversations with top Justice Department Bruce Orr between December 2015 and February 2016 about securing evidence against Manafort. And again, this is why Trump fired Manafort. Manafort was hired in March of 2016 on the recommendation of Roger Stone. Manafort then rose to his position in June of 2016, and then the Black Ledger files were leaked by the Ukrainian officials to the U.S. media in order to throw the election towards Hillary Clinton. Towards Hillary Clinton. It's fact. The corruption in the Kiev embassy. John Solomon tweeted out, read Congressman's letter accusing a U.S. ambassador of undermining President Trump's overseas. Now we've got something else that's come up. The ambassador overseas at the U.S. Embassy, appointed by Obama, and originally had another position and was originally appointed by Bush And then Obama picked up this individual and sent this one to the Ukrainian or the U.S. embassy in the Ukraine. It can't get any dirtier than this, folks. We're talking about the Uniparty doing they're working full time. They're working overtime to make this happen. And when people say, even Donald Trump tweets out, it is shocking when you find all the evidence of collusion with Russia on the Democrats' part, all the work they did, all the Mueller investigation, we're into $40 million plus dollars, the money they spent, everything they did, and still Donald Trump won. Pray every night to the good Lord above, to Jesus Christ himself, and thank him, because this is an impossibility. Truly, only you could only script this in a movie. There's no other way. This could not happen in real life. For those of you in England, you understand now. You know it's an impossibility. You guys are on a lockdown. Brexit's never going to happen. If we can't clean up America, there's no way Brexit is going to happen. It's just not even possible. So now we got this ambassador in the embassy. And check this out. The ambassador has somehow misappropriated $4.4 million. Clinton campaign? I mean, we're talking about where did all the money go in the government, and where did, say, fast forward to now, where did Bernie Sanders make $6 million in 24 hours of his launch for his campaign for POTUS this year? Beto O'Rourke reels in $6 million in 24 hours? I just can't it just can't happen. How does he reel in $6 million in 24 hours when he couldn't do that in Texas, going to California, when he couldn't do that against Ted Cruz and still lost? And now he's going to, folks, it beyond reeks. It reeks beyond. And so now this U.S. ambassador in the Ukraine, the $4.4 million lost, misappropriation of funds. Obama embassy official named George Kent wrote, check this out. George Kent wrote to Yuri, the Attorney General in the Ukraine, a letter, an official letter. And the letter's there. It's been, John Solomon posted the letter, took a picture of it and posted it online. So it's there. The letter's there. So George Kent wrote a letter to the AG, and he said, "We are gravely concerned about this investigation for the $4.4 million being missing, for which we see no basis for. Stand down." Yes, folks, the Obama administration telling the Attorney General of the Ukraine to stand down and stop investigating these possible crimes and misappropriation of funds. Not only that, but in the letter, there was a list. Okay, John Solomon writes this too. The Attorney General for the Ukraine accused the Obama-era U.S. Embassy in 2016, this is back during the run-up to the election, of interfering in his ability to prosecute corrupt cases, saying the U.S. ambassador gave him a list of defendants that he would not be allowed to pursue, and then refused to cooperate in an early investigation into the alleged misappropriation of funds. So when the AG of the Ukraine got this letter from the Obama administration saying to stand down and you will not prosecute this list of individuals, will not do that. And when he went back to them and said, I need you to work with me on the misappropriations of $4.4 million from your ambassador, State Department refused to cooperate. And as of yesterday, this is amazing. Donald Trump doesn't control it. Donald Trump does not control the State Department. Yes, I know he's supposed to, but he does not control the State Department. That's how bad this thing has gotten, that they're out of control. And this by the State Department's statement on Wednesday, yesterday, from the State Department. The State Department on Wednesday issued a statement declaring that it no longer financially supports the Attorney General of the Ukraine, Yuri, and his office in its anti-corruption mission, and considers his allegations about the do not prosecute list an outright fabrication. I can't believe nobody in the State Department, unless it comes from Attorney General Barr, unless it comes from I don't know. Barr's the only one I trust right now. Barr's gone to bat for Donald Trump. He stood up for Donald Trump. I'd be very curious as to see how this plays out. But this entire story was scrubbed all day long, not trending all day, completely gone, invisible. The only place that you could see this story really is from MAGA folks retweeting it and John Solomon retweeting it multiple times on his page. I retweeted it. I sent it to friends and family, and I'm telling everybody about it, screaming to the top of my lungs. However, there's a part of this story that John Solomon alludes to. He asks a question of the Attorney General of Ukraine, and nobody's caught this. And if you have caught this, I apologize. But everybody I've told this to, everybody says that they've never heard that before. John Solomon writes last year, when he served as House Rules Committee chair, Representative Pete Sessions, Republican Texas, wrote a private letter asking Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to recall the current U.S. ambassador. He has spoken privately and repeatedly about disdain for the current administration in a way that might call for the expulsion of an America's top diplomat in the Ukraine. That's how bad it is, folks. Still fighting to the bitter end. Every one of them fighting to the bitter end because they know if they get caught, it's all over with. So here's what I've been alluding to. Here's the juicy part of the story. I got the bones out of the way, and here's the meat. Here's the steak. John Solomon, when I was watching the video, and you can watch it too, it's a little difficult to watch because the attorney in the Ukraine doesn't speak English, and there's a translator, and there's a delay. Read the transcript underneath. It's much, much better. And again, the link to the article is in the description below. You can read it yourself. It's a quick read. It's not very long, and it'll blow your mind. However, what I'm about ready to give you is not in the story. John Solomon asked a question to the Attorney General. It said, just real quick, it was real fast. He said, was SIdnik the same director in the Ukraine that partially or stopped the investigation into the Burisma thing? The Burisma thing. And then the Attorney General right away said, yes, that is correct. I said, Burisma, why does that sound familiar? Why does that sound familiar? So I started scouring the net and I started looking into it. And I found this article. This is unbelievable. The internet is unbelievable. The Google, love you. The Google is going to sink the Clintons. The Google is going to put Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton in prison. Somebody better start scrubbing the Google. But this by the New York Times, this article by the New York Times, December 8th, 2015. When Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr., and I apologize, I did not know Joe Biden was a junior, but Joseph Biden Jr. traveled to Kiev. 2015. In the Ukraine. On Sunday for a series of meetings with the country's leaders. One of the issues on his agenda was to encourage a more aggressive fight against Ukrainians' rampant corruption and stronger efforts to rein in the power of its oligarchs. Doesn't that sound like a liberal? It's just what they do. I mean, they are corrupt, and they call to stop the corruption. It's the old projection thing. It's the gaslighting. That's how they gaslight their entire voter base, by just throwing stuff out there. I mean, Joe Biden here just the other day said that I agree with Trump to walk away from North Korea. I agree with him to walk away for a better deal. I don't know. I can't trust Uncle Joe. Uncle Lunchbox Joe. Apparently that's what they call him, Lunchbox Joe. Him and John Kerry. They got a special relationship. Him and John Kerry have been in the Senate for a very long, long time. John Kerry and Joe Biden's families, sons and wives, families, are very close, tight friends. That's part of the story, too. Don't forget that. So he's in Kiev, in the Ukraine, and this is by the New York Times, December 8th, 2015. And so he's screaming, stop the corruption, stop the corruption. And we know now, Attorney General of the Ukraine, currently Yuri, was literally in the fight of his life in 2015 to save the Ukraine from all the corruption and literally being taken over by Russia without a war. And if you skip down through the article, it says Hunter Biden, 45 at the time, a former Washington lobbyist, joined the Burisma board in April 2014. So Joe Biden's son joins the board of Burisma in 2014. Joe Biden goes to the Kiev in the Ukraine in 2015, calling to stop the corruption. And the irony of his son joining the board, and Burisma is the government-run electric company, a huge oligarch, totally tied to the government and the corruption. And when I say huge, I mean it is the electric company. One guy at the top, the government involved. All of a sudden, Joe Biden's son is now on the board in 2014. Has that ever happened before? Has Joe Biden's son, Hunter, ever joined the board of giant oligarchs? Well, if we dip back a little bit further, and the reason, real quick, the reason why the Attorney General said that SIdnik was the one that stopped the Burisma investigation, it's because they were being investigated to the tune of tens of millions and millions of dollars that had been laundered and moved around. And around the same time, around 2014, investigations into the money laundering, British officials froze London bank accounts containing $23 million that allegedly belonged to the owner, Slavchevsky, the owner of the Ukraine's, sorry, I said electric company. I apologize. The largest natural gas companies, Burma Holdings. And so there's a book that I bought last year, and I got into it and I started reading it. And that's why this Burisma thing triggered me. I kept thinking about it, started getting into it. I started looking through it. Peter Schweizer's book, Secret Empires, How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and Enriches Family and Friends. Last year, that came out. And I've been scouring the house everywhere looking for that book. And I think Carrie's got it. If you got it, Carrie, I need it back. But in his book, Peter Schweizer writes, my frustration, secret empires, and how the American political class hides corruption, enriches family, that's my frustrations that all of this is happening. Folks, there is a whole nother world. If you think Hillary Clinton rules apply to her differently than everybody in the world, it's an absolute fact. All these politicians, absolute fact. The rich of the rich of the rich can kill people. If you accidentally murder somebody, say you run them over in a car accident and you accidentally murder somebody in a crosswalk, you may go to jail for a pretty good while. Diplomats, no. higher ups with money? No. Even lower folks that we've run into in political campaigns that know that have connections to John Kasich. If they get a ticket, John Kasich just get it ripped up. There is an inside. There's an old boys club, and they don't want you to see it, and we're peeling back the curtain right now, folks. This is what John Solomon alluded to, but didn't tell you, didn't make the connection. Maybe he knew something about it, but had to hold off on it. I'm making this connection, folks. Peter Schweizer's book and the corruption that went down in 2014 with Joe Biden's son being part of the Burisma Holdings, largest national gas company. The corruption that was going down. And the corrupt law enforcement agency in the Ukraine that tried to throw the election for Hillary Clinton stopped an investigation which could have led to Joe Biden and John Kerry and his sons and his daughters. That's how deep this goes. But it gets even worse. Breitbart News, 15 March 2018, last year. Matter of fact, holy smoke. Last year and 3 days ago. Wow. A year and 3 days ago, Breitbart published this. On Thursday, the New York Post published an exclusive excerpt of the soon-to-be-released investigative blockbuster Secret Empires. How the American political class hides corruption and enriches families and friends by Government Accountability Institute's president and Breitbart News. Senior editor-at-large Peter Schweizer. In this excerpt, Schweizer reveals that former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, his firm scored he said put together a firm, scored $1 billion deal with the Bank of China, Bohoi Capital, just 10 days after President Biden and his son Hunter returned from their 2013 trip to China. Joe Biden and John Kerry, their sons, Hunter Biden and Christopher Hines, they went into business together in 2009 and put together an international private equity firm. This equity firm sent to China when Joe Biden went to China, his son went to China. Now all of a sudden this equity firm and these individuals are now joining each other's boards. They're putting Chinese members on the board of Joe Biden's son's corporation. So now you have a foreign national on a corporation here in America. You have Hunter Biden and Christopher Hines colluding with the government-run banking system. This is a huge. You think the natural gas conglomerate or the national gas oligarch in the Ukraine's big. The national bank in China is the bank of the government. And if you're willing to do something that benefits the government, you'll get a loan. That literally is how it is. And when we say that they're funny money in China, it absolutely is. And now we've got this. And in Peter Schweizer's book, he writes, the new firm would be populated with political loyalists and positioned to strike profitable deals overseas with foreign governments and officials with whom the U.S. government was negotiating with. So you got Biden and you got John Kerry. John Kerry, now part of the Department of, John Kerry, now part of the State Department, going over and making deals around the country, around the world. So is Joe Biden. And on the heels of each one of these deals that they make with these countries, ironically, this newly formed investment firm that their sons run are now the beneficiary of huge sums. I'm talking billions of dollars, huge sums of money. So you have the Chinese government investing in a Chinese joint venture with Joe Biden and John Kerry. Set up not in New York City on where you might think Wall Street or something like that. No, but this is set up in D.C., Washington, D.C. And the reason why they set it up in D.C. is because it's just down the street from John Kerry's McMansion, just down the street from Joe Biden's office. It's right there in the center hub. They can be at any meeting at any given time with any politician or any diplomat that comes into town. D.C. is where they need to be at. And profitable deals were struck with foreign governments on the heels of critical diplomatic missions carried out by their powerful fathers. Often, those foreign entities gained favorable policies. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. And actions from the United States government, just as the sons were securing favorable financial deals from those same entities. Nowhere is that more true than in their commercial dealings with the Chinese government-backed enterprises. Okay. Now you talk about dirty. Here's how dirty they are. When they're in China, they meet up with a guy named James Bulger, James Bulger, whose father, Whitney's younger brother, Billy Bulger. They serve on the board of directors of the Thornton Group. If the last name Bulger sounds familiar, it should, because this is the father of the longtime leader, or this is the father of the Whitney Bulger, who was just recently arrested. Whitney, he was the Winter Hill Gang, part of the South Boston Mafia. Look, the mafia is like, all right, let's do this legit. Let's do this, like the politicians do it. These politicians don't go to prison, but they get rich and they kill people and they get away with it. Well, one, we want to get rich, and two, we don't mind killing people if we got to. So let's form a corporation, Thornton Group. Thornton Group meets up with John Kerry's son and Joe Biden's son. They form a joint venture together with the Chinese government. And this is what is really, really wrong with all of this. In 2013, China, Biden and son deal with state-owned bank, the bank called Rosemont Seneca, and the Bank of China. And they created a $1 billion investment fund, Boya Harvest, a name that reflected who was involved in the innermost Gulf of the Yellow Sea, was a reference to the Chinese stake in the company, and the RS referred to Rosemont Seneca and the T to Thornton. So the name of this new venture, joint venture, China, Thornton, and John Kerry and Joe Biden, their initials make up the name of this joint venture. Corruption in China. What they do is they create this company, there is this company out there called AVIC, who's stealing technology from our F-35s and then selling it back to China to build their J-31s. In September of 2015, when AVIC was bought, a funny thing, 51% was purchased by the Chinese government and 49% was purchased by Biden, John Kerry, and this Thornton outfit, this new venture they came together. And who are they buying? Who are they buying up? And who are they trying to get a hold of? They're trying to get a hold of and maintain 100% control of a manufacturing company called Hennings's. What they do is they are the manufacturer of American precision parts. And these parts that they make and are used in aircraft. And because they're made here in America, the State Department is on top of who buys and who sells and who gets this stuff. And if a company out of China or the government in China is requesting to purchase these things, you have to go through the State Department to get approval. And so now we see China, these multiple corporations, John Kerry, Joe Biden, and family wrapped together in one, operating together in one harmony to purchase a company to circumvent the State Department so that they can get technology they wouldn't normally be allowed to have. And ironically, turn of events, John Kerry approves of these dealings. John Kerry approves of it because he is the State Department. Similar situation with Hillary Clinton and Uranium One. It's the same thing. These people are doing the same thing. They're all doing it's the same script. The same script over and over and over again. Nothing has changed. According to BHR International Documents, that's the Chinese group, the Chinese group that formed with Biden and Kerry and Thornton. According to internal documents, the Hinges deal included arduous and oftentimes challenging negotiations. The CFI-US review in 2015 included representatives from numerous government agencies, including John Kerry's State Department. And in 2015, the deal was approved. Stamp, approved, done. Peter Schweizer's book, you absolutely must get it. It's a must read. Folks, this thing that went down with the Clintons and the Russia, all of this that went down, there is dirt on both sides. Both sides of the aisle. John McCain. John McCain as well. John McCain was knee-deep in this. And we got reports now that he shopped the dirty dossier to news medias because they wouldn't touch it. Nobody wanted anything to do with this. And now we've got proof, factual evidence coming out of the Ukraine where they're investigating the highest officials. I would assume it's somebody like a Comey in America type official that was attempting to intervene in the 2016 election in order to help Hillary Clinton. On audio tape saying this, the judges, the folks that have looked into this have already concluded that yes, this is enough to go ahead and prosecute. And I just want to make mention of this real quick. Over at New Right Network tonight, folks. New Right Network tonight. That's where we are. SmythRadio, well, former SmythRadio, now Smith TV. Over at New Right Network tonight, got some incredible writers. And I spoke with this one. She is absolutely awesome. At MAGA Rose Taylor. I shared my notes with her. She has a big interest in this going on, and she wrote this article for New Right Network tonight, and I absolutely highly suggest just glance over it. She gives an incredible overview and just a page, a real quick page overview, title Ukraine Collusion, the real foreign intelligence influence. After nearly 3 years of investigation into foreign influence in the 2016 presidential election, new evidence suggests that it may be the Ukraine. She talks about, will the real foreign collusion please stand up? There is more than meets the eye. And then the mainstream blackout. Absolutely the mainstream blackout. And that is newrightnetwork.com. If you're looking for it, go down in the show notes. And it is down there in the show notes. And for those of you on right now, this is the newest Smith.tv website. I want to thank you very, very much, Shadow Spooked, for helping me put this together all day, working at it, slaving away at it, getting it done. Thank you so much, folks. Check it out. It's very simple. It gives you the buttons of where to watch, where to listen, Periscope, Vimeo, and then right here at the bottom, patreon.com. Click the Patreon button. If you don't like Patreon, that's fine, no problem. We got the PayPal button. We got the Cash App. Cash me outside. The Cash App. And then you can click over here for Shop Our Goods for other products. Now, again, just a soft launch right now for the website. That might be like the store might not be full of items to purchase and things like that. But there's a contact page as well, extras, shop, and then again home. But that's where we are, folks. New Right Network tonight, Smith.tv in conjunction, and we're putting this together to keep America great again. Folks, nobody's going to do it but you and I. You and I are Donald Trump's legacy. When Donald Trump is gone in 2024, there's still going to be the Joe Bidens of the world. There's going to be the Hillary Clintons of the world in America attempting to overthrow our government once again. Attempting to say, okay, Putin, I see what you're doing in the Ukraine and how, you're literally got a stranglehold. You're going to control it. Hey, why don't you go ahead and work with us and help us here in America to get that kind of control in America? The evil is out there, and they will not stop. There's no stopping of this, folks. So we've got to stay vigilant. We've got to stay on our toes. This is the New Right Network. This is the new news media that is blowing the whistle, screaming at the mountaintops, and letting everybody know what the real news is. Again, this story that I just gave you that came out last night from John Solomon, Hill.tv, out of the Ukraine, has connections to Joe Biden, has connections to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, the current U.S. ambassador to the Ukraine in Kiev, and yes, Paul Manafort was a dirty dog. He's got a lot of things that he was doing over there. And the Clintons too. And the FBI and Christopher Steele, all of them over there in Kiev. And now we've got Joe Biden getting ensnared, John Kerry ensnared. We got to keep pushing this. Joe Biden's going to run 2020. You cannot let him off the hook on this one. This is God's honest truth, folks. If you think John Kerry's going to go away, I'm sorry. If you think Uncle Joe Biden's going to go away, no, you're sadly mistaken. Uncle Joe ain't going away. And he puts on that friendly Uncle Joe attitude. I'm a cool dude, no big deal. Sniffing women's hair and getting all creepy on people. And that real creepy hug he gave to Hillary Clinton. A bunch of creepsters. They're all dirty. And there's something really wrong. And we got to keep these people from being involved in our politics in America. And this is what we do. Share it with your friends and your family. If you're on Facebook, watch this on Facebook. Crush the like, crush the share. If you're on Periscope, crush the share, crush the follow. YouTube, crush the like, crush the share. Hit the subscribe. And when you hit subscribe, hit it twice, because then that'll give you the notifications when the show is live. The show is live on New Right Network, YouTube, SmythRadio YouTube. You can catch it syndicated on iHeartRadio, so you can listen to it audio only on iHeart. Also on Facebook, the SmythRadio Facebook page, the New Right Network Facebook page, and also on Periscope. On Periscope's Twitter page at SmythRadio, and on Twitter's Periscope page at New Right Network. So there ain't no reason why you can't find somebody to see it somewhere somehow. Anyways, guys, I think I was going to get through it. I really did. I didn't think I was going to get through it. I can't believe I've been going an hour. It's a whole hour, folks. I'm a little parched. And by the time Take a little sip and drink. Oh my goodness. So tomorrow, Freedom Friday, Carrie will be back in the house. We'll put on a great show for you tomorrow. 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, every single weeknight. And if you want to be a part of our message meetup group, or if you want to DM us, or if you are a writer or somebody who wants to get involved, New Right Network is looking for people like you, for writers. They have a whole bunch of great writers right now. We just did an expose on one. So they got a lot of great writers out there right now. If you're that kind of person and you want to write, they can use you. Nothing else other than collaborating on new ideas. If you like to proofread or proof out articles, they could use you as well. If you're one of those people that want to get involved in doing what we do, folks, I'll show you how to set up shop in your room at your house. Maybe a couple $100, and that'd be it. I'm serious. A couple $100, you can have your own show. And if you use Apple products, oh man, you're already set. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, folks. All right. This is Brian Smith, Smith.TV, New Right Network. I'm out of here, y'all. Have a good night.